Hey guys, Rob or Panics here, and welcome back to Web Coding and Design for Beginners. I did the title wrong, but that doesn't matter because it's part 3. Yeah, it's 9:25 in the morning and I'm going crazy, so let's unhide my desktop and get cracking. So I'm going to, as usual, open the tutorial website, and then I'm going to right-click Index HTML and open with Dreamweaver. Now, for those that said in the comments of the last video, I don't have Dreamweaver. It's exactly the same code. It's identical code if you're writing it in Notepad or whatever. So don't worry if you don't have it. It's exactly the same. Just type it in Notepad and then you'll have to find the file to preview it in Chrome. But it works exactly the same way. You can right click open with Chrome rather than. So if you've got the file, just right click open with Chrome and there's your preview. So every time you change something in Notepad, just hit refresh. But Dreamweaver is slightly easier, so I'm going to teach you guys in that. Now, last time we left it off, we just finished the container, and it was looking all right. We got it centered. Some people asked me why I did a pixel width and rather than a percentage width. Is because pixels are easier to manage when you're first starting off, and we'll move on to percentages at a later date. So today we're going to be talking about headers and paragraphs. Now, a lot of people, if you ever used MySpace, will use breaking characters to put a line between something. So if hi, my name is Rob, test 1, 2, 3, break, blah, blah, blah. If I hit Command S, get into the habit, and then refresh, that's how most people do paragraphs. It's wrong. I'll tell you right now, don't ever, there are I'd say maybe 2 situations where you can use a break tag, and I won't tell you either of them because there's ways around not using them at all. So, we'll start with a paragraph tag. Now, thankfully, HTML have labeled the paragraph tag a P tag, so it's open bracket, P, close bracket, and then you write your paragraph. So, I'm just going to write some absolute gibberish. I'm just going to write some absolute gibberish. Spelt right? I don't know. Spelt right? Question mark? I'm not really sure. See, you can see at this time of morning I'm a little bit crazy. So when you finish your paragraph, actually we're going to make the paragraph a little bit longer. I love my fans. You guys are awesome, and I wouldn't be anywhere on YouTube without your incredible support. Love you all, and I make these videos to teach you guys to get better than me. Right, that's probably a big enough paragraph, so we're going to close the paragraph with a standard closing tag, so / P little spiky bracket, and then we're just going to copy it. So we're going to have 2 paragraphs, basically the same thing. I find the most difficult thing when I'm actually making a website is what the hell do I write on it? I like designing them, but actually nothing to write on them. So Command S, and then we'll refresh. And you see straight away that that's put it in 2 different paragraphs. Now, if you didn't have that, let's just show you what it would be without the P tags. So we'll take the P tags out. Even if you set it out like 2 paragraphs, so there's a thing in between them, you just get 1 long line of text. So keep your P tags in. And that's how you do paragraphs. Now, they're looking pretty shit, aren't they? They've got a weird kind of no padding around them, and they just generally look a massive slice of shite. So, what we're going to do is we're going to style the container. Now, we talked about making it a colour last time, but actually we're going to make it so that you can have stuff in it and it not be jammed against the sides and look really crap. So, what we're going to do, and the idea of the container is that it's invisible. So we're going to make sure it's touching the top, and then stuff isn't touching the sides. So we're going to go back to style, and in our container we're going to hit padding. Ah, no, I realised where this happened. Up in the top where we have body, we're going to put margin 0, padding 0. And we're just going to do the same for HTML. So come down another line, do HTML, open your curly bracket and put margin 0 and then padding 0. And there you have it. This should do nothing. Why has that done nothing? Ah! Here I get to teach you another thing, is how to use the inspect element in Google Chrome. So when you're trying to work out something, you're like, I don't know where that is or what, because stuff is in a box. Most things are in a box, so the text doesn't finish here. The box finishes here, but the word anywhere just carries over. So if you right click on something and click inspect element, it will show you can hover over the various things, so you can say like, that p tag is there, that div container is there. So immediately you'll work out exactly where stuff is. So the orange is margins, you get green for padding, and you get blue for where the actual box is. So you can see that the container, the orange bit's are the margins, so it keeps it nice and centered, the blue bit is the box. Now the thing that's keeping it above is the margin of these P's. So we're going to go down and we're going to start styling the margin, styling the containers. Now there's a couple of ways to do the styling of the paragraphs. You can either blanket style, so style every P that there's going to be, and then when you want to style a different P, you can change it. Or the safer way to do it is to put a class on every P, but make it a nice short and easy class. So we'll call it P class just text. Or we'll call it standard text. So we're going to want to copy that, the class, into the other P tag, so that you've got both P tags as P class standard text. So we're then going to go into here, and we're going to put headers and text as the comment, exactly the same as we did for the container. And we're going to come down and we're going to write dot, because it's a class, so dot, not a hash, because you're using it lots of times, and standard text. Standard text. There we go. Right, that's pretty easy. It's done nothing, but you can see that it's now a standard text paragraph, and we can do stuff to it. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the margins off for the moment. So we set margin 0 and see what happens. Every time I'm hitting Command S and I'm flicking over and I'm seeing what happens. And there you go, it's taken the margins off. And that was really, really easy. Just playing around. I know that these tutorials aren't as rigid as they might seem. Every time I show you something, play around with it. Like, see what other things do. To be honest, right now, if you started from start of episode 1 to where we are now, it'd probably take you about 10 minutes. So don't worry about mucking it up. And there's always the download link if you completely screw it up. But just play around with stuff. See what happens when you do stuff. See what happens when you muck around with things. But to save time, we're gonna carry on, and I'm gonna teach you the various bits. So margins you can do two ways. So we want margin top to be 0. We want margin left to be, let's say, 0. We want margin right to be 0. And we want margin bottom to be, let's say, 20 pixels. And let's see what happens. Command S. There you go. The bottom margin is 20 pixels. But that is a really, really long way of writing margins. That's 4 different class identifiers for one margin. The best way to do it is to write margin and then your semicolon, and then you go top, right, bottom, left. So you read round, like as if you're reading a clock. So the top is 10, the right is 10, the bottom is 20 pixels, and the bottom top is 0, right is 0, bottom is 20 pixels, and left is 0. And there you go. If you take all of that out, that becomes just that, and that's much easier to handle. And there you go, it's exactly the same thing. So maybe we want the standard p text to be width 850 pixels. So we'll set that, and you'll see it. Oh no, has it done anything? Yeah, so you can see that it's nice, and it's 850 pixels now. Nothing's changed because the anywhere was already dropped over the line, but you can see the box is smaller than the 900 that it was. And let's center it. So it's the same principle. You want margin, so that's the top one. You want auto on the left and auto on the right. Now don't worry if that's a little bit confusing. It got me the first few times I did it. Just play around with the margins. Auto, if you have it on the left and the right, will mean it will generate an automatic margin. So that will make it nice and centered, and there we go. Now that is centered the P text nicely. But let's say we want it to be red. So we're going to make it color hash, and now a nice red is FF0000. It's the really bright red. So bingo, Yahtzee. That's how it looks. That looks crap. So we're going to take it back off. We're going to make it FFF. So there we go. That's what that color is. So that text is now that color. And actually, we're going to make it CCC, so it's different to the original text that we had in the container. See, the container's set as FFF, so there would have been no need to set the P's as FFF, but I wanted it a different color, so we've set it as that. And there you go. Excuse me. That's how you style a P tag. But there's loads and loads of different ways of doing it. I'll cover lots of different styles as we go along. So if you in a couple of episodes time, if you think, oh, I like that, maybe I'll apply that back to standard text P, then why not? And if you want to be really specific as to what this is going to be, you can put a P in front. So this is only going to apply to P's with the standard text. And that's for sort of advanced coding when you want the same style to cover a couple of different elements, but certain things change. So don't worry too much about that. It's good practice, but I like to just keep it nice and simple. And then the last thing we're going to cover today is headers. Now you might be thinking, I'll just stick another P tag in to do my title. So let's call this P tag main title. But that's wrong, because when Google looks at your website, it sees a series of header tags, and it then sees your paragraph tags. So if you've got your main information in your header tags, then you're much likely to show for the stuff that you're being searched for. So if someone searches panics, my headers all have panics in, so you show much more. You're much more visible to Google. They see that your headers, the page is about panics. It doesn't just reference panics once. So to do this, they're called H tags, but there's H1, H2, all the way down to H. You can go down to H6, I think, but H6 is bad practice. So I tend not to go any further than H4 or 5, mainly because you don't really need to. Too many headers means you're cluttered. So H1, let's call this main title techers, because I can, because I'm in charge. For those of you who didn't understand that, I am in charge. And then close your tag, so it's H1. And that's really easy. So come back, and bingo, you see straight away H1 is already styled as much bigger than the rest of them. So what we're going to do for that is we're going to come back to style, and we're going to style H1 in a blanket way, because you shouldn't use H1 more than once, really. It's bad practice too, and I'll tell you exactly why in just a sec, but we're going to style H1. So this isn't a class, it's like the body, so we're just going to put H1 and then open the curly bracket. And inside here we're going to put font size 3. Now we're not going to do point sizes. Font sizes, the old hat way of doing it is like 15 point. It's probably what you used to do if you're doing Microsoft Word or you're in Photoshop. The web uses EMs. Now it's a multiple of what the user's standard font size is. So 1 EM will come at whatever font size the user standard is, or whatever, if they haven't set it, whatever the standard for the website is. So I like to go for about, well, I don't know, this is going to be a huge title, but 3 EM, so it's a little e, a little m, okay? And then bingo. It's pretty big, but I like it that way. And again, you can see that the margin on it, if we go down to inside here, the margin is there and it's taking up a lot of space, so we're just going to set the margin to 0 for the moment. And because I'm being really cheeky, I'm going to center it. So to center stuff, to center text within an element, you want text dash align and then center. And there you go. That's how you center text rather than centering divs. And we're going to want to put a margin on the bottom. So remember, it's top, so that's 0. Middle, right, so that's again 0 because we've already centered it with the text. And then the bottom, let's go for 20 pixels. Let's go for 30 pixels because I'm feeling a bit funky. And then 0 for the right. And there we have it. So That is a really easy way of styling your content, but it's still a bit too close to the top and bottom of my container div. So we're going to come in, and to have stuff come away from the sides, you want padding, and basically it just means stuff can't go any further than it's like an empty space basically. So we want padding, and this is the same as margin. It goes top, right, bottom, left, or top and bottom, right and left. So you can set two values, and it will do the top and bottom for the first value and the left and right for the second value. So at the top and the bottom we want, let's say 30 pixels of padding, and the left and right we want maybe just 10 pixels. And Command and Control S is your favorite tool, and I want people to start using it, and as you do it, say Command S, so you know you're doing it. And there you go. So straight away, and I mean straight away, that immediately looks better. And the last thing we're going to do is the next H tag, which is H2, and we're going to do H2 subtitle techers. Subtitle techers. And then close the H2 tag. And then we're just going to, just to show you what it does, I'm going to copy this. So we copy it and the subtitle. And then, see, there's no space between any of these, but when you look at it, there is a big space. So putting loads of carriage returns in like that won't do anything. It will just make your code look untidy. So if you do want to do one carriage return between, say, elements like that, that's the main title. Here are the the first set of subtitle, and then the second set. We hit Command S and we'll see what happens. See, the second set says subtitle techers. Now it's a little bit indented. Actually, I quite like it, but we want it to do the same kind of thing as the P tag. So we're going to come down to back into our style sheet. See how easy it is to switch between the two, and then like we did H1, H2, and let's set this font size to 1.5 EM. Let's not make it too big. And there you go. It was already set to 1.5 EM because that's the standard for an H2. And we are going to set it to width 850, like we did the standard text. And we're going to set the margin to 0, auto, 20 pixels, and auto, like the P tag. And there we go. So that's looking pretty swish, but the subtitle, they kind of look a little bit close together. So this subtitle looks a little bit too close to this. So we're going to go back to the H2 margin, and at the top we're going to add an extra 10 pixels. And that's not done anything. Try 20. Also hasn't done anything. Am I saving it right? Huh. Let's have a look and see what's going on. How strange. Ah, I've missed out a really integral bit of code. And it's something that's HTML5 to make this really confusing. This is just a piece of code you have to take my word for. It's star, so this means everything in your CSS is covered by this. Brackets, box, sizing, and then border box. And you want to close the tag, and then okay, it's done fuck all. Alright, do you know what? Doesn't matter. Yeah. Yeah, sweet. Okay, it doesn't matter. I'm just going to try one thing. See, this is the beautiful thing about coding, is that nothing ever goes right. Ah, there we go. Okay, well, I worked out what it was. What we're going to do is we're not going to tackle that today. We're going to leave it with 0 at the top, because the truth is that's a really confusing thing. Ignore the border box bit. That's another thing for another day. That's more difficult code. So we'll go back to having something like that. Oh, oh wow, I'm now choking. It's not having a fantastic day. And the last little thing I want to teach you today is so the idea is that the container has no background. It's an invisible container. So what we're going to do today is we're going to take a leap of faith, and we're going to take the background color out. And there you go. So that is pretty much it. Again, again, it's still looking pretty plain. We've not done too much design-wise, but we will get there eventually. Next, tomorrow, I'm going to cover various fonts, but not web fonts. We're not going to cover web fonts just yet. That's quite a difficult one for you guys to deal with, and we'll deal with that at a later date. So, as always, the project files will be in the description for episode 1, 2, and the project so far. And I'll probably get it to the point where I'm leaving the last 5 projects and the current one when we're past like episode 6 or 7. And actually, we're going a lot quicker than we were, so we might be opening Photoshop a little bit soon, so that we can get some actual designing done. Oh my god, like techers. Next time, we're going to do a navbar. So I'm going to teach you about links and about styling a listed navbar. So I've been Robot Panics. I'm actually really enjoying this series. So I hope you guys are too, and I hope that those of you that know nothing about code are learning something, and those of you that knew this already are just reaffirming maybe a different way to do it. Everyone has their own way of doing it, I will say that. So if my way isn't the way you do it, it's not necessarily the wrong way, it's just a different way. And also I want to say that I hope I don't sound too condescending. I don't mean to sound like I'm babying people. I'm being very specific and very over the top with my information, because some people know nothing. You might be one of those guys that didn't know how to code at all, that's always wanted to know, so you might think that this is perfect. Some of you might know a little bit about it and think, actually he's being a bit arrogant and a bit like he's talking down. I'm not at all. I'm just trying to make sure that I cover everybody as much as I can, and so that people understand what's going on. Yeah, I'm really enjoying this. Look out for a speed art this afternoon. This should be up at about midday, and I've got an awesome speed art of not a partner background, but some styling for a WordPress theme for AskGob Online. It's an Arsenal fan site. So look forward to that, and I'll see you guys tomorrow, or maybe the day after. I'm pretty busy tomorrow. Goodbye.